Good morning, Cardinal Nation. It is Sunday, October 19th, here on Card Central 365. Ethan Hannaford, I'm Luke Slabaugh. I want to say welcome and thank you for tuning in, spending time with us here on this Sunday morning, talking about Lars Nootbaar and Brendan Donovan. Ethan Hannaford was in a unusually positive mood this morning, a lot of upbeat energy. Ethan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's amazing what a normal 8-hour night of sleep can do for you. And I don't know. I guess I had a little bit of a pep in my step coming into my, my sports room / guest bedroom / whatever else you want to call it. So here we are. Let's, there's stuff to talk about today. And so let's get down to it.
To have multiple bedrooms, a luxury that some of us don't have. Got rowdy here after the Blues won last night. Randy Carricker and I on the postgame. We're talking a couple of candidates, actually guys that were drafted right next to each other in the 7th and 8th round. Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar, respectively, in the 2018 draft. Cardinals announced late last week that not only Ivan Herrera, as we expected, but Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar are going under the knife getting surgeries. For Brendan Donovan, it is a sports hernia repair, and for Lars Nootbaar, he gets surgery on both heels to fix a Hagelin's deformity. I was on YouTube this morning, a couple hours, looking up Hagelin's deformities and how to fix them and all that. Mm-hmm. Fascinating stuff that we can get into. But Ethan, we made a really good point before we went live. Why would the Cardinals make this announcement now? Guys that had suffered injuries here and there, and Brendan Donovan missing most of the last month of the season. But why does this news come out now in the middle of the postseason?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I have a great answer to it. Outside, we knew that Ivan Herrera's information was coming out. But if I were to look at it from, just step back for a second and look at what Chaim Bloom is potentially trying to do here, we know that there is going to be a lot that is on the table as far as moving forward. It wouldn't surprise me if they're putting this out there saying, okay, hey, all these guys have dealt with issues, they've dealt with injuries. We're getting this cleaned up this offseason. That is going to help with some of these issues that they've been dealing with. Perhaps putting it out there as a statement to, other general managers, other president of baseball operations saying, hey, these guys are cleaning these things up and it's only going to make them better. Trying to perhaps, in a way, maybe in a smug way, clean up the view of some of them and maybe some of the concern for injury for some of those guys. It's no secret that Lars Nootbaar has dealt with injuries throughout his major league career. Brendan Donovan, even in the last couple of years, has dealt with some as well. So perhaps for three guys that you could say there has been, whether credible or not, there has been something mentioned out there about interest, whether it be at last trade deadline or during the offseason now. All of them in some sort of way have gauged interest at one point or another. Maybe Chaim Bloom trying to play a little bit of chess here, saying by having this information put out there.
Having that information put out there is going to be imperative. Getting in front of the narrative, Ethan, that is an excellent point. Want to make a quick note that this content on STL Sports Central brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. So on the subject of boosting value, we've had discussions, Joe Rod and some others this week about Ivan Herrera. And we spoke, you and I, about this narrative that, they're going to fix his catching fundamentals and he's going to start throwing out base runners. He's going to do some extra work down in Jupiter. And, it will not be surprising come February and early March that there's going to be people pounding the podium, coaches, players. He's really been working hard. He's doing amazing. Like, he looks like such a great player. I'm telling you, that's what the headline's going to be on MLB.com and The Athletic before it even happens. But now, since we're focusing in on these two other surgeries that have happened with Donovan and Nootbaar, the more I think about this, the more it makes sense to keep both of them heading into 2026 for a couple of reasons. And feel free to interrupt me at any time. Both of these guys are arbitration eligible, and they're projected by MLB Trade Rumors and some others to earn in the mid to high $5 million range. That is not extraordinary money. Easy for me to say sitting here, spending monies, the DeWitt's monies, for sure. Like, I can do that. But when it comes to these guys in particular, you got 2 more years of control. They're on reasonable salaries. And it just, there is value to be added in both. Getting out ahead of this narrative, because both of these surgeries will be consequential for how the Cardinals approach using them early on in 2026. We'll start with Donovan. He made a comment to MLB.com in August when the sports hernia was becoming more of an issue and he had spent some time on the IL with a groin injury. He had said, quote, "It's really only lateral things. Running was okay, but pushing off to get a ground ball with my rear leg and my swings, I think all of it affected that." So groin injury limits him to 8 games the final month or so of the season in what otherwise was one of his better campaigns. I mean, an all-star campaigns, tied his career high in slugging there. And so for Brendan Donovan, how do you get the most value out of him? My thought is that it makes a lot of sense to put Brendan Donovan in left field to start 2026. He has shown that he is capable. It's probably his second most played position behind second base. And we've talked at nauseum about the glut of infielders that the Cardinals have. They're still trying to figure out what to do. And with that left side of the infield in particular, the uncertain future of Nolan Arenado, but J.J. Weatherholt, the second coming of Christ, Mason Wynn, Thomas Ajacey, and Nolan Gorman, and that's just candidates on the left side alone, some of them might be better suited to play up the middle at second base. What say you?
I don't necessarily disagree. Here's the thing. If we're talking about, and I know we're specifically on Donovan right now, if we're talking about all 3 of these guys being Cardinals to start off 2026, someone's got to go. If it's not them, then someone's got to go, because the logjam, the roster construction, I know that's hard. I know it's hard. You'll be okay. Someone's got to go. There is too much of a mess as far as the construction of this roster goes, to where I think that it would be it would set you up and put Ollie Marmol once again in a really tough position to start off 2026. I think it would put Chaim Bloom in a really bad spot with the fan base, as far as, we're coming in, we're going to make all these changes, and then nothing happens in your first off season. And while that isn't the most important thing, it is important, I think, to follow up on your messaging in your first off season as the president of baseball operations, because you, as a organization that does heavily rely on butts and seats for your income, for your revenue, they didn't do that very well last year. And if the narrative continues to become putting out one wave of messaging, not following it, then fans are going to continue to not show up, and they're going to show up in less and less numbers. But simultaneously, you can say that there is a world in which they don't train guys where Chaim Bloom is just playing the long game still. So I'm not saying everything is based off of what they do this upcoming offseason, but if the conversation is that because they announced that these 3 guys all had surgeries done, reconstructive procedures done, we're not going to trade them, then what is the move? What is the move? And because I'm not against Brendan Donovan playing left field. In fact, I think he's looked pretty dang good when he's been out there. And I think as far as when you're trying to move all the chess pieces on the board, right, you're figuring out who is best to where. I think there is a world where it makes sense for Brendan Donovan to be your go-to guy in left field. It just means that you're going to have to move some other pieces around out there. Where is Alec Burleson going to play? Where is Jordan Walker going to play? Where is Lars Nootbaar going to play? I like how it sets up your middle infield potentially. You got Gorman as an option there. You got JJ Weatherholt, as you mentioned. So there's plenty of options there, but it doesn't really fix the issue. It just puts the whole issue in another area of the field, log jamming a corner outfield position even further. Not against it, but at some point, whether it's one of those three guys or not, they're going to have to make a move, and they're going to have to clear some of this up so they have more of an idea of who's going to be where.
Figuring out who's going to be where heading into spring training is a graying hair idea for a president of baseball operations, and probably puts less stress on the manager heading into the year. We want to get to your guys' comments. If you guys are watching, we appreciate you spending your Sunday morning with us, and we'll get to a couple of them out of order. We usually go through the chat, but there's one that Chris Widener commented right as the show was starting. Says, hopefully both these guys are departed and get the St. Louis Cardinals young flamethrowers that they can teach spin to. Just as we wrap up Brendan Donovan for a second, what, Ethan, does he command in a trade on October 19th?
Command meaning what is a realistic return? Help me out here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's let's see, he's got 2 years of control left. He is a utility guy that has played everywhere on the diamond besides up on the mound and as a catcher. But he has at times been the emergency catcher. So that definitely benefits. His bat continues to improve. Listen, as far as guys that are on the 26-man right now, I think you can make an argument that Brendan Donovan is the most valuable player that the Cardinals have. Maybe if Jordan Walker's career would be at a different trajectory in his first couple of years, that's a different story, or the same with Nolan Gorman. But it hasn't gone that way. So I would argue that Brendan Donovan, that his return is going to be better than anything that the Cardinals are going to be able to get from anyone else. Now, as far as what could he possibly bring back, it's hard to know, because you can't necessarily compare it to trade deadline returns, because teams are much more desperate to bring in they're much more desperate to make moves that are going to make them World Series contenders, World Series winners at that point in the year than they are in the off season. That doesn't mean these moves don't happen, but to say that Brendan Donovan is worth 2 top 10 prospects right now, I can't say with full confidence, but I think I could say that with a lot of confidence at the trade deadline. If Chaim Bloom is able to find a way to get a top 10 prospect, 2 would be ideal. And even to bring in a guy, a starting pitcher that has had some time at the major league level, that that perhaps has had value at one point, but maybe a team has moved on from, maybe a little bit of a project that you could bring in. I think that any of those things would be intriguing. Obviously, with a guy to the level of Brendan Donovan, he is going to set the tone for the majority of the return that you get this offseason with whoever you trade. So you have to make sure that you are hitting on him, because if you don't hit on him, then it's likely that, and when I say hit on, I don't mean that these prospects become superstars. I just mean that you're getting a good return as far as this guy has a good chance, has the ability to be contributing at the major league level, and you're getting a couple of guys that can do that. If you don't hit with him, then it feels like you're much less likely to hit with the Lars Nootbaar or with the insert whichever player after that. Does that make sense? I know I'm not giving a specific, this is what he is, this is what the Cardinals should get out of him, but it's hard at this point because the market hasn't really been set, because the postseason's still going on, and we haven't really seen a lot of movement or even gauging of interest in these guys yet.
And it's hard to find a good comp. It's Sunday morning. It's hard to find a good comp as well because you got multiple years of control left, and we're not in a trade deadline situation where a team is going to overpay at the trade deadline. We're seeing less and less. We're seeing teams hold on to their players a little bit longer and get them in their contract year before they let them go. This show brought to you by DraftKings.
Bam!
Been with us since day one. We love them. We love them. Just wait till we talk about Ethan Hannaford and DraftKings. That's the whole second block. Lars Nootbaar can wait. Missouri, Show Me State, St. Louis, DraftKings is coming. Get ready. You can sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets when DK Sportsbook launches on December 1st. Download now. Place a $5 bet when they go live. This is America's top-rated sportsbook app. Includes live in-game betting, lightning fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when they go live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the sportsbook app trusted by millions. Carl Sagan emphasis, millions. Safe, secure, and with fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1. That's code STL SPORTS in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? You with me? Call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Final block here on this Sunday after morning. Wow, this has been a day.
After morning? Is that what we got there? Did we get an after morning?
It all just kind of blends together when you turn 30, right, Ethan? So we're talking about Lars Nootbaar as well. Talking surgery in both heels to fix a Haglund's deformity. If you don't know what that is, it is a part in the back of your heel where it's, I don't even know. I'm not a doctor, but you're getting some stress, whether it's from everyday activities, in this case, running, on the back outside part of the foot. And it can interact with the Achilles, like it can cause pain in that area. And to fix this, you do have to go under the knife for surgery, either general or local anesthesia. And there's no interaction with the Achilles during the surgery. Like, that's not getting touched. They're able to cut around that. The thing about this is that removing the sutures will take a few weeks, and slowly Lars Nootbaar will have to start walking again, and will have to learn to run again now after going under the knife for fixing this Haglund's deformity. Hopefully this keeps him on his feet and helps him play pain-free in the outfield in 2026. And this is imperative to get this done now, because Lars Nootbaar should be entering the prime of his career. This is going to be he just turned 28 in September, so he's going to be for 28 for all of September. And for a guy who's coming off his career low in slugging by 50 points, 5-0, I think that caught Cardinals fans off guard more than anything this season, was that a sure thing for the last 2 to 3 seasons in Lars Nootbaar took a step backwards. What would be the best case scenario in how the Cardinals handle Lars Nootbaar coming off this very important surgery?
Well, I first off, thank you, Dr. Slabaugh. I appreciate the information on Haglund's deformity.
It's lupus.
Jerry commenting here saying, hopefully Lars is traded, so the only thing he means to the team is the return you get for him. He has been given more than enough opportunity, and he can't produce all year. Time to move on. And Jerry, you bring up a good point. And here is the question I'm going to bring that your comment helped bring to mind. How many players would you argue the Cardinals have that are similar to this spot right here, right now? What would you say? 3, 4? I think you could probably say Nolan Gorman is one that fans are becoming restless about. He's had the opportunity. The results have not consistently shown. Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar, Jordan Walker, I think you could throw in there, maybe to a little bit of a lesser extent, but I think fans are growing restless. So that's 3. Is there any like other big ones that I'm missing off the top of my head?
Sorry, I was still thinking about me saying after morning. You said Gorman, Walker.
And Nootbaar as guys that you could make an argument that you insert their names instead of Lars and Jerry's comment, and they're viewing it similarly.
This is going to be a sleeper candidate, Andre Palante.
Okay, all right. So 3.5, 4, somewhere in that mix. This kind of goes back to my point that I made when we were talking about Donovan, but regardless, you cannot have all of those guys. You cannot have all of those guys in the same position going into 2026. You just can't. So what's the best way to handle Lars Nootbaar? It depends on how you view your other guys. Felt like a lot of not just the conversations that we were having here on STL Sports Central, but also a lot of the conversations that were being had just throughout the media in St. Louis when observing, when examining this young talent that the Cardinals have that they haven't really hit on yet, but they think that they could. Who has the highest ceiling? Who has the greatest potential? Where is there the most logjam? When taking all that into consideration, Lars Nootbaar was still the name that was brought up the most. So here is my take: is regardless of the Hagelin's deformity, which obviously is way more of a bigger thing than I thought that it was. Thank you, Dr. Slabaugh, for informing. Because of that, how long is the recovery going to take for that? How long is it going to take for him to be able to make adjustments in the time of year where players make by far the most adjustments that they will make during a year? If you listen to these guys talk, if you hear Ali Marmol talk, oftentimes you'll hear being able to make huge adjustments during season. Yes, there's always going to be in-season adjustments that you make, but the time to capitalize on huge changes in your swing and things like that, in your timing, is going to be during the offseason. And if Lars, depending on, like I said, I don't know how long this is going to take to recover from, but that could end up being a potential big blow if Lars Nootbaar has to learn how to walk again and can't get to taking swings. It's October 19th right now. If it takes him 2 months and we're to late December and he hasn't gotten any swings in yet, there's still time, but it's just time lost too. So this is just as important as being able to make those off-season corrections. It's also the time to get healthy. I would rather have a healthy Lars Nootbaar in 2026 than a Lars Nootbaar that's hitting well but is on the injured list. So there's a lot of different ways you could go at this, but regardless, what the Cardinals cannot have is those same 3 to 4 names, and I'll stick with the offensive pieces for now, just in regards to the log jams, is you cannot have all of them in the same sort of situation going into 2026, regardless of the recovery that they are working through. I don't know if you are, and maybe you would disagree, Luke. Are you telling me that because Nolan Gorman doesn't have any hasn't had to have any off-season work done, he's been able to just progress through and is in better shape, arguably, going into the season because he hasn't had to do any of this rehabilitation or anything, that he is more of a trade candidate than Lars Nootbaar? Would you agree with that? And I know that's not taken into consideration, like these guys' numbers, their position, things like that. I understand that. But, trying to at least put all that to the side, does this move the needle on Lars Nootbaar being a guy that could be traded in your eyes because of this?
I think going back to our conversation at the start of the show, this is in the interest of boosting Lars Nootbaar's value. I don't think anyone in baseball thinks Lars is a star unless you root for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic, in which case, like, he is God. But here's what I think, and I'll ask for your final thoughts here in a second. But again, not a doctor. If Lars, we're going to go into spring training and we're going to hear that Lars was playing with a lot of pain in the back of his heel and on the sides of his feet, and he didn't say hardly anything about it, and that was one of the reasons why things were amiss, for part of the 2025 season. I'm just telling you that's going to be one of the headlines and narratives out there.
Sure.
And for the Cardinals to get out ahead of this, and to get Lars in a situation where his value increases, I think that's kind of the crux of this whole segment that we have right now. And I, as an aside, I really don't like referring to players, and you didn't do this, but referring to players as assets. I know that there's a narrative started with the Billy Bean Moneyball, and then Theo Epstein, and the NBA egregiously does this, referring to players as assets. Potential draft picks that you hold in the future, assets. The players you select, not. Like, this just even goes back to Kurt Flood days and things of that nature. So I just, not a doctor. I know that Lars will, like, they're going to be very wary about getting a shoe on him that has a backing to it. Like, after a few weeks, you should be able to have like flip flops on, but like not wearing shoes for the next couple of weeks. Honestly, the dream to be able to like work remotely, do some film study, and not have to put shoes on. Obviously, the pain involved with that, but
isn't Lars Nootbaar big into the grounding? I feel like I've seen him out there doing some of that stuff. Maybe I'm wrong. What I'm talking about?
Like the JJ McCarthy, feel the earth with your feet type of deal.
I feel like he does that sometimes. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm putting out fake news about Lars Nootbaar right now, and Lars sees this, Lars, forgive me, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've heard that before.
And so, I mean, I feel like Miles Michaelis did that too.
Oh, for sure. Miles Michaelis 100% did that.
There's a slight germaphobe quality to me that if there's dirt, if there's like grass out there, I mean, I guess it's a controlled environment, so I get it, but you're not going to see me going out to, Del Mar Gardens or Faust Park and walking barefoot. Just seems out of character.
I wouldn't there either.
Let's go to Tower Grove Park and just start running, and hopefully no one threw a beer bottle on the ground. Final thoughts, Ethan Hannaford, as we wrap up this Sunday, October 19th edition of Card Central 365.
You've got three guys that are going through some, have gone through had some procedures done. Excuse me. We didn't even talk about Ivan Herrera. I'd argue his is the most important one. But I'm sure there's been some conversations that have been had on STL Sports Central regarding that. If not, I know that there will be. So, you've had three guys get some things done meant to improve their overall health, their abilities in the upcoming year. How does it affect their ability to be traded this offseason? Well, I think I'm going to finish with what I started with. Releasing this is a chess move by Chaim Bloom. How it gets used from that and how other teams respond to it, that's still to be seen. But it's going to be interesting to see what exactly the approach is this upcoming offseason regarding who's going and who's coming back.
We appreciate all our viewers and commenters coming back day after day on Card Central 365. And Ethan, you're just the best, man. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful Sunday. And this has been STL Sports Central Card Central 365 presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.